I think we're live. Hey, Kelly Tag, thanks for coming. Please let me know if you can hear me and see all of us. Getting back to my friends. Hey, guys, thanks for coming.
Hey.
I'm the only one without headphones.
I could take mine off, but you might hear my cat meowing.
It's all good, all good. So today we're trying, our goal is to keep it to 30 minutes, right? I haven't told Amanda Panda that, but that's our goal today, Amanda.
Got it.
Got it. Let's go. So we're going to start right away. We're going to talk about diverse learners because it was a request from someone. And I was saying before we went live that I'm hoping to talk about the 3 types of learners using the VIPKID model and talk about diverse learners in a different way. So the VIPKID model, should we introduce ourselves or should we just go? I just realized I'm like, go.
I think they know us.
Okay, we have my friend Mary from Thrive with Mary, and we have Kasie Morrow from ESL with a Gypsy Soul, and Amanda Panda Teacher, which everybody knows on Etsy and on her YouTube channel. So so check everybody out. Hey, I think I did pretty good with remembering all the channel names.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so 3 types of learners that I want to talk about. Oh, we have another friend coming. Want to talk about is the visual learners, auditory learners, and kinesthetic learners. So basically, see it, say it, do it. Is that facing the right way for you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because it's backwards to me. Oh. So see it, visual learners, say it, and is auditory, and do it is kinesthetic. Hey, Julie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's so fun to be here.
Good. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
And Julie, you want to shout out your channel really quick?
My channel? You mean
your YouTube, so people know where to find you after this live today.
Oh, Dr. Julie Connor. You can find me there.
Dr. Julie Connor. Okay. I didn't want to mess that one up, but
Connor, CONNOR. If you enter ER, it will go to someone else. So I had former students that called me Miss Connor with an O. So yes.
It's a good way to remember it.
I know. It helps me remember my own name.
Right. Welcome. Kelly Tag is here, and Jason, Mandy, Vivian, Amanda Panda, Karen's here, Marianne. Wow, thank you everyone for coming and joining us today. Our goal is 30 minutes, so we started right away today. I know Julie's like, yeah, right. So what do you guys think about teaching using the VIPKID model, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic? Anyone want to chime in on that one? Or the importance of it?
I think it's great because I know all learners are different in their own way. So not all learners are going to be visually, they're not going to learn by like watching a video or seeing pictures or GIFs or whatever. They're not going to learn as much or as well as some others would. Or kinesthetically, like using a lot of actions and let's jump, let's hop, and let's throw and just doing all that. So I know all learners are very different. So it's nice to just try to see if you can find what blends the best with each learner and just to go with that if possible. It's hard to find out sometimes, but
yeah. And there are some tricks to finding out. We'll have to talk about that on another day because I was researching that exact thing on trying to find out which learner you have. So Mary, did you have something to say on that also?
Well, what I was going to say along that line is because it can be hard, especially if it's a new to you student, to know which learning style they have, is to just make sure you're incorporating each method in some form into the lesson so that then you'll get to click and see, that would just work. I'll do more of that.
Yes,
moving it into a different domain. Even, very seldom is one learner only one thing. So the more parts of themselves that they can embody in the learning experience, we're a whole being, right? If we can incorporate all of our senses, then we are learning it in a much deeper way than if we're just thinking about it or feeling about it. We need that whole experience to learn.
Yeah. Great. equal in value. All three of those learning styles, for us to teach all three is equal in value, because like you said, new students, we don't know what kind of learner they are, especially. So if we're just, using auditory and teaching, which none of us do, we all use our TPR and our body and visuals. They're all equal. They're all equal in value. Anyone else have anything?
Can I add something?
Please do, yeah.
I think with TPR, and it is such a wonderful, engaging way to fully engage kids, but I think it's important to remember that some people are not, including children, are not kinesthetic learners, nor do they feel comfortable. I think we start getting into personality. Introverts are much more likely to be hesitant. And I think it's important to be sensitive to each style's learning needs and not insist upon one particular way, because like Mary mentioned, there are multiple levels of intelligence, multiple ways kids learn. And so if we're sensitive to that, like you said, then we invite a great learning experience to all the kids.
Yes.
That was definitely something I had to learn. I don't know if anyone was here last week or the week before when I talked about my daughter. I'm like, here, hold this, touch this, because I'm a kinesthetic learner. If I need to fix a car, you have to show it to me, and I have to physically do it while, working and learning. But for my daughter, she was auditory. So I wasn't helping her by trying to make her do things. She needed to listen to it. So yeah, definitely. Not everyone is a kinesthetic learner, even though I didn't understand that until later on. So, hey, Cindy, thanks for joining us.
Hello. Sorry, my computer was slow today.
Mine was this morning for classes. So we're just talking about the three styles of learning again, the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Anyone have any other thoughts before we get on to different diverse learners? Yeah, Amanda.
I was going to say, I think the value of one-on-one teaching with our students is that we really can make our teaching match the model that the student learns the best. So I do very different things with different students. Some have different strengths in different areas, so we can really teach diverse learners and teach to their strength, knowing them and having them for a long time in classes. I just think that's the power. That's why parents are one-to-one. Because if you think of our children in China, their classrooms have 30, 35, 40 kids. Sure. And they all sit in desks together in the classroom. They don't do much group work together, or they don't do much differentiating themselves from others. The teacher calls their name, they stand up to answer, they sit down. There's not a lot of individualized learning. And so really the power of our online classrooms and us one-to-one with the student is the ability to really use all those learning modalities when we teach the student.
Yeah. I love teaching. I love teaching in centers. Some of you may know, like in the classroom, and I can group them, in different groups. Sometimes you want them, homogeneously where they're with like learners, and then you teach to that style and things. So I love centers, while some do some things and some come to me. So, I miss that. But I definitely love learning how kids learn in their styles.
Well, that's the thing about having a lot of children, is you realize how different they are. And my oldest had a really hard time with reading, and I thought it was me. I went to college. I think I'm kind of smart, but reading is really hard to teach because I was more high school teacher. And I tried everything, and it was so hard. But then I had the opportunity to homeschool. So that was good in the sense that we could focus on the things she was good at. And sometimes that's what you learn too, is that you praise the good things that they're good at. And then sometimes as a parent or a teacher, you want to focus on the one thing they can't do.
Yeah.
And you think, well, if you can't do this, you can't move to the next step. But then you're actually making it harder for the kid. So if you kind of allow them to do the things they can do well and praise those things, it kind of takes the edge off from the things they can't do well.
Yeah. Mandy said, I remind some of the parents that the child is struggling, that they might do better if the child develops a working relationship with one or two teachers rather than jumping around.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's really important, I think.
So I guess if you find a learning style or a teaching style that fits your learner, Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I had a student today that I had quite a bit, but there's a big space. I didn't really look at the notes. I think he had another teacher or something. And then I had his assessment today and it was just not good because I think he's really shy, because one time his mother sent a note and said that he doesn't ever stutter, but when he's in class, he stutters. And I think he's just really shy. But it would help if he had the same teacher. And you could build and he would be familiar than if you switch around and then every teacher's new with a shy kid. So that's really hard to, I don't really demand, I don't like say, this is what you should do kind of thing, but.
Yeah. I know it's subjective, right? I can see both why it would be good to have different teachers and why it would be good to stick with one. All right, let's see.
But I wouldn't be hesitant to make a suggestion if you can back it up with your reasoning of why you think it's a good idea. Because I think parents do want that feedback from us. I think they're looking to us as someone who is experienced with kids and knows how to teach. And from our opinion, they still get to do what they want. Our opinion is that it might be good to have a consistent teacher to help overcome this for this reason.
Yeah.
I think that's wise to do.
Good. So what are some different types of students?
Well, you have the student that won't say much or participate too much. And then you have the ones that are like really busy and they like to be occupied doing stuff. And maybe their mind and their focus is on something else, not in the classroom. And then you get those that just get it like instantly, just no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are so many. One thing for busy students, this sounds funny, but you all know from being with me that I'm very busy. So I don't know how in feedback I can say it, but sometimes just for me to be doing two things at once, I literally teach with the little ice creams in my hands. I know you're laughing. Or I have a sensory thing under my desk that I can move my feet on. It's so weird. I'm telling all about myself, but I wish there was a way, or if I had the words to say it, if you have a busy student or they need to be doing multiple things, like fidget spinners, they're a little bit annoying and could get distracting, but if the child had something they could do while listening, I don't know. I wouldn't want them all to have it, but that's just
that is where if they have a toy and they can hold the toy to teach to the toy, they're already still focused on the concept, like the objectives of the lesson, but now they're helping to interact with something. So their hands are busy, whatever it is. I think that can really help with as a suggestion too.
Yeah. For busy students, I like the drawing rewards where you will like have them every so many minutes, you help them draw a part of a picture. I really like that. Or even I've had one student that actually drew every reward, whatever it was. I remember she just drew like everything. So sometimes if they have a piece of paper and they can draw as long as it doesn't take too long, then that's a good thing. Or I also have a matching game on my Stars to Apples. Like every few minutes we do the matching game. And I try to relate it to the story, like if they're doing weather, the pictures look like weather, something like that. And that really helps if they're, if they progress through the lesson pretty well.
Yeah. So anything else for busy students?
Sometimes I just join them.
So
that's what I was going to say too.
Yeah, if they're just busy and they're like playing with the car, like, so then I get my car and we got a room for a while. And I think that just letting them know that I play too and that I'm with them, and then I bring the car into something that we're learning, and then we can just refocus and move on. I teach very young kids. I started as a level 1 only teacher. My first 100 days, and that ended up being 100 classes were level 1 only. And goodness gracious, the little tiny ones are very, very busy. And it is okay to have toys. It is okay for them to bring things to the camera. It is okay for them to jump and spin and all kinds kinds of cuckoo things because they're just very young. So for me, I think don't beat on them and say that they're just actually my little level 4, our little 4-year-old, a teacher wrote in teacher to teacher feedback that he was defiant.
Mm.
The student was
They
defiant,
just don't know.
refused to listen and
Wow.
reply for the teacher. And I was like, oh my gosh, I would never think of this little darling and saying that they were defiant. But that's just because for me, it's okay if you're not going to say the right thing in English. I think it's funny, so I'll laugh with you and then I will get you to say the right thing in English. And
Right.
even though like maybe I don't view that as defiant, some other teachers might. I'm there to be your teaching helper friend. Like I really want you to want to come to class, not be like you're defiant. Urgh. That's just
Yeah.
not my style. And so I think if you can't beat them, join them. And so I really busy kids. I'm busy with them. So
Amanda, was that hard for you at first sorry, Cindy, coming
That's
from the
okay.
classroom? Because when I first started teaching with VIPKID, I had just left the classroom. So I've adjusted now, of course, learning. But when I first started, I'm like, oh no, we've got 25 minutes, and I'm a strict teacher. Most people wouldn't think that from me. But we move a lot and we play a lot in my classroom, but there's definitely a time to work. So like the UAs, I was like, oh, I've got to follow this rubric. And was it hard for you leaving the classroom and starting, or?
I think what really helped me is taking a workshop with Justin. I don't know if he
Okay,
still
he's
does
funny.
workshops.
Yeah.
He does the trial workshop. And in the trial workshop, he has a little treasure chest and he opens it and has sound effects. Do 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 a
Oh,
coin.
cute.
Like, and
Yeah.
that really showed me that we can take things and have fun adding sound effects. So I'm naturally like a silly sound effect kind of person. My husband says I'm the Puerto Rican mama banging pots and pans in the kitchen, and I am. I'm making a noise all the time. And so
Yeah.
that really matched what my students were looking for. They want high energy. They want to come and have fun. So at the end of my class, I do something crazy so that it really keeps their attention. And that teacher was fun. Let's book her again.
Yeah.
So I think the transition for me was wonderful. There is nothing like teaching one-to-one.
Yeah.
There is nothing like knowing a student and understanding their needs and really seeing them excel. So for me, the transition, I was 2 years out of the classroom before I started doing online teaching. And for me, I don't know that I could go back like to do brick and mortar teaching.
I know.
Like 27 kids. I once had 37 fourth graders.
Oh my word.
37.
Wow.
One-to-one. How can I ever think that I would
You
want
You
to?
can't.
won't have to now. COVID.
And
I know.
Mhm. So Cindy, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that it might be how you perceive when you're training, because when I was training, I perceived that it was that you're supposed to play, kind of thing. So to me, that's the way you're supposed to do it. So I was a little bit too kind of probably animated at the beginning, and then I kind of slowed down a little bit, kind of tried to be myself because I like to have fun, but I'm not like over the top crazy. But I was going to say, I'm doing the TEFL right now. And that's what they tell you is to kind of, when they're young, you bring it to their world. Like, and that's how they learn, is when you're bringing it to their world and trying to relate it to them personally. So like what she was saying, if they have a car, you do a car. I have one girl that she loves to draw. And when I first had her, she hardly made a peep. But sometimes every now and then in the middle of it, even if I'm not doing a drawing reward, she starts drawing. And she is an amazing artist, just even on the screen. And she's only a little kid. So I felt like, maybe that's her talent and that's the way she expresses herself. So I don't, say, oh, we have to hurry up, let's move along. I try to get her to talk about it. What are you drawing? Oh, I love that. Oh, that looks like this. Is that rain or is that sunny? So I try to bring it into the lesson and kind of make it part of her, because her mom might appreciate that. I would as a parent. I like it when the teacher hones in on my kids' strength, or maybe I think they're being naughty and the teacher think it's really awesome. So that works too. So that's what I do, especially with her, because she'll all of a sudden just start drawing. And then you're like, okay, we need to hurry up. But then again, let's talk, because that's what she really needs to work on. So, and she's been coming back, so must be working.
So yeah, Amanda.
I just want to say, no matter how fun your class is and interactive, you always have to finish the objectives in the lesson.
Yeah.
So there's a fine balance there. You don't want negative parent reviews for being so ha 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 ha, let's have fun, and not finish the classes. These are academic online classes. There are expectations that the student should meet. We should finish all the slides. So in my timing, I'm always watching that clock.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get really quick at the end and I gotta through slides because I've been doing conversation with students or other things. So just remember just find that balance of how much to play, how much to really encourage the student, and to finish all the activities. Every single thing on the slide should be touched upon. And though I may not elaborate on everything, I am really going to be teaching them English while we're playing.
Julie?
I think it's important to remember. I remember when I was first becoming a VIPKID teacher and worried about how am I going to attract students and make bookings. And I kept hearing repeatedly, your students will find you. And I believe that's true. And I think the same is true of teaching and learning styles. We, through the magic of teaching, education, and online learning, we attract the students that keep coming back are the kids that align with our particular learning styles. I'm a kinesthetic visual learner. And so I'm going to attract the kids that like to have their hands on things, draw stuff, grab stuff, like Cindy just said. If a kid has something in their hands, chances are extremely high that will become part of the lesson, and we will talk about what squeeze means if you have your blue squeezy toy.
Yeah.
And that will become part of the lesson. Some kids are not comfortable. Some kids, that is not to say somebody who has a more serious, straightforward, albeit lecture style, that is not bad. There are some kids, because of their own personal experiences and comfort with what is familiar.
Right.
Teachers who teach a lecture style, more likely than not, are doing what's familiar. And same with kids. That doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. It just means it's different.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think all of us have something to bring to the teaching table. There's lots of pie on the table, and there's lots of
Yeah, the lecture style, I get nervous when they're super quiet. I'm like, is it me? Am I doing something wrong? You know, so for me, it's taken me a while to get used to that kind of learner. Honestly, that's just not what I was comfortable with at first. Yeah.
I just had, I think I taught the 14th class to this brand new VIPKID student, level 2, unit 1, and so shy, like barely said a word the first lesson. And now, after about 14 lessons, he is just brought right out. But first I was checking to see if I needed to match his quietness, but what he really needed was my silliness. And it's hard to know with each student what it is that will pull them out. But once I found that he really responded to silliness, it's like, you know, and the mom wrote to me, I'm really shy. My son's really shy. But now after every lesson, he's running and saying, Mama, you have to book another class with that teacher. So it's like he's excited to come now, where before, I mean, he was barely on the screen.
Yeah.
So it's so rewarding to see that breakthrough, to see them changing and growing with you on the screen.
Great.
Yeah.
Would anyone like to tackle slow readers? I'm sure everyone on this channel has heard my opinions about popcorn reading and echo reading, but what do you guys do for slow readers? How do you get through those 25-minute lessons?
How slow are you talking about, Kasie?
Make sure I have my coffee.
No, because if it's really slow, I will not ask them to read everything. I will take I will take certain words and simplify a sentence and just change the sentence completely and have them read the words that they can manage. So I'm not trying to assume that that slide is appropriate for them. Yes. But if I can communicate the concept, the objective of the lesson by reducing the amount of words they have to accomplish when they're reading, that works because at least then they're progressing. Otherwise, it's just totally overwhelming and you're just fighting a losing battle. So don't be afraid to change the lesson.
Right.
Or
I
to
do do
adapt
that,
the
especially
lesson.
level 2, I think. I do have one student, though, that mom will say the whole sentence. Even if I'm trying to get half out first, mom will immediately say the whole sentence. And I'm like, wait, let me break it up.
Good job, Mom.
I
now,
know.
now it's Johnny's turn.
Stars.
I actually write in parent feedback. Parents are partners, and I really think some teachers rub parents the wrong way. Remember, I'm their teacher for 25 minutes. Their parents are home with them all day long. They should be practicing with them and learning with them. So in my mind, in my feedback, parents are partners. You are my partner. You're helping to teach your student English, and I don't ever discourage parents from being participants in my class. You know what it is? They don't trust you yet. But once they have established with you a relationship, they will fade away. I have a little boy who is now in level 2, unit 5. I've taught every class he's had since the beginning of level 2. And when we first started, he was very young and mom sat right by him because she was worried he wasn't understanding. Then we transitioned to mom is at work. And so she's on the phone. And so now we'll take class and mom's on the phone. I'm with the student. Now he comes on his own. And he takes the class and he really is getting it. He has grown so much. It is wonderful. But at first, parents are partners. So don't brush off that. Remember, they're your customers too.
Right.
So I would never brush them off. And I love parent participation. But there are a time when you need to break up a sentence for a little guy. You know what I mean? And the mom just keeps talking over you. They can't hear what I'm trying to get, that little piece. You know what I mean?
And I think parents, though, like I've noticed with my kids that like I have one student that the parent was next to constantly and helping him along for a lot of lessons. But I noticed how eventually she tried to pull away and the kid kept trying to go to his mom. He loves his mom.
Yeah.
But, but the mom, I think it's natural for them eventually. They do kind of try to make them independent.
Yeah.
So I think that sometimes you have to endure it with the parents for a little while until I think they figure that out even. And I don't know. I think that the little kids, from what I've seen of the Chinese kids, they grow up really fast.
Yeah.
Like,
Too fast.
So I feel like the parent being next to them, it's kind of like probably special for them,
And I think, like I think someone said, teaching the parent. So today, for instance, a parent was trying to help her son make the TH sound, but she was saying it as a D sound as well. So I got mom to come on screen so I could show her the tongue position and how to form her mouth. And she said, "Oh, thank you." I said, "Okay, now practice with each other." Like encourage that because they want to help their student. Like Amanda said, they are a partner in teaching their child. So let them be part of the learning process.
Yeah.
I think something too that's important to remember is that children who struggle with the slow readers, whether it's they're just learning the language or if they're struggling with other forms of learning disabilities that learn differently, that like dyslexia or whatever, there is so few supports in China for children that learn differently. I provided a link in the chat to a TED Talk I give about this. But I think it's so important, like everyone has said. I love, Mary, your ideas about assisting the parent and partnering. That is brilliant. I have not done that yet, but I am stealing that idea because I think that is awesome.
Yeah.
Amanda, I was just going to ask you to do that. You rock.
All done.
She just put your chat into the chat box for YouTube.
Yeah.
So your TED Talk is in the YouTube chat.
Oh, okay.
They can't see it on this chat, but Amanda's really good about copying and pasting. And do you have two monitors, Amanda? Or are you just really good about switching between?
I just switch between and I keep smiling.
Wow, that is so awesome.
Multitasking.
Obviously.
Oh, that's awesome.
I get the stare. I'm like trying to figure out the next thing. Okay, so we know what slow readers are and things, but just fire a couple of tips that we can help new teachers so they can get through their 25-minute lesson. So, for example, popcorn. You read, they
Yeah.
read.
Yeah.
I also like sometimes I'll think of like a song or if there's like a song lyric like Old MacDonald had a farm, then I like count out the words, and then I don't do that with the students, but I just like do the tune of the song like in the sentence, and I mix them together, and then that way it's like learning the tune of the song and then learning a sentence. And I know you wouldn't say that naturally, so I know it's not like natural English, but if they're having a hard time learning it, then it's going to help them because it's like it's catchy. And I don't know, it's helped a lot of my troubled students.
I draw a line and bracket the section for them to read. When they get to the bottom of the section, I hold up a stop. Oh, that's supposed to be a stop sign. Whoops. I hold up a stop sign and say stop, and then I read the next section. Then I'll bracket the next section and hold up the stop sign and have them stop. I also pre-teach the vocabulary words that I know will be difficult. So my student who always says wah, wah, wah instead of b, b, b every single class, I circle all the V's before we start to read because it really helps him to know that those are where they
What
are.
a great idea.
So whatever strategy or skill you're really pre-teaching, always before you start off the reading, look at that and set them up for success. So I know that probably and usually and sometimes are words not in our curriculum, but they toss them in our reading. Thank you, VIPKID. So I always pre-teach all those words before we come to the passage to help them. And the key here is they don't have to read every single slide. Sometimes it is just too darn much. We don't need to have 4 slides about something. We can cover that in one slide, teacher reads, student reads, teacher reads, and then be done, because the reading can be very slow and they really struggle. So to be help them and helpful. And then remember, every single word they don't pronounce wrong, we have to provide corrections. So again, like really like assigning certain parts of the reading is a really good strategy, because if you have a student who really struggles with pronunciation, it's hard for me to remember all the words they got wrong. So section and then correct, section and correct. Those are all things I try.
I have a question for Amanda. Amanda, I love what you just said about sectioning. I even have a stop sign, so I am going to do this tomorrow. I am used to working with older children, so working with younger children, I love these ideas. But with slower readers in particular, if you're sectioning and it takes time and doing some of these things, how do parents feel because you slow it down and focus on some of these specific skills? How do parents feel if lines, or in some cases even a page, if it's a repeat of other skills, about skipping those? What are parent thoughts about that?
So skipping, I don't skip. Either the student reads or the teacher reads.
Okay.
But I do often, like on a slide, if there's 4 questions or 4 things to read, if I can't get to the bottom 2, I only do the top 2 and then move on.
Okay,
So
that's what I was
remember,
asking.
the parents are wanting you to cover all the slides.
Right.
The biggest complaint in VIPKID for low Apple scores is about not finishing the slides or ending class early. So if, as long as you master and get at least the concept that is taught on the slide, whether you do it in 2 examples or you need 4 or you need 1, teach that and then go forward. Also, something else I do is I flip back slides often. So like for whatever concept I'm teaching, like if it's a vocabulary word, or for example, in level 2, we teach the big letter S. I flip back like 5, 7 slides and had the student circle big S, big S, big S, big S, because the best thing to do was to find sentences, and there they were on the slides, and then I flip forward. So again, I'm really teaching the slides. I'm not holding to, there's 4 sentences here, let's read those boring old sentences. No, let's flip back and circle the ones we already read. We already know how to read those ones. Let's just circle the big S. We don't need to decode and read all over again, because that will take so much time.
Right.
So again, you're just using the slides for your best teaching strategies, but never skipping content, always modifying for the student's needs.
Right. And Julie, I think it's important to write it in feedback as well. Like the teacher reads you know, so and so to help with, or this much to help with fluency, so the student could hear good reading or fluent reading. And I think if you put it in the feedback in terms of why you use that strategy, I think that'll work. Even though our strategy really was to hurry them along a little bit, you know, but having them hear good reading is very important as well. It helps them with their fluency and confidence. Mary?
Yeah, what I was going to say is, if you know, especially in the upper levels, you know, the story repeats, you know, and they're starting to read the same thing each lesson. I will very often, if I know they're reading it well, not have them read it. I'll say, can you tell me this story in your own words? So can you, you know, I know that you know how to read this. Can you tell me about it? You know, so that it's just a different strategy. It's having them think about what they've read before. It's helping them develop their own sentence structuring and sharing about it without it being, you know, reading line for line. I like that, and it seems to work for my students.
And also, we've mentioned this before, but Julie, if you have 6 questions on a slide and you don't have a lot of time, use a die. It looks like you're doing it, you know, as a game, but like, oh, I rolled a 4. We're going to do number 4. Right. So just use one of the die and it's so much easier. You guys always all had these and I just got mine. I need to go get a different one.
Dollar store.
Mine's paper. It's kind of beat up.
So let's go to how do you help early finishers? So extensions. I took this from Shannon Mabry. So I will give quick tips to extensions. If somebody else wants to go first, then I can give these in just a minute. But yeah, Cindy. Oh, you're on mute.
That was because my kids were making noise. I like to go back and spell words on the blank slide, or I'll draw a picture about something that was in the lesson. Or like if it's the seasons unit, a lot of times I'll draw the seasons on and then talk about it. So the whole time we're drawing, we also converse, so that you're kind of using the lesson words to, I love that. That's usually what I do. And it works really well.
And that's for any age, really. I mean, going over their words. Yeah, definitely.
It's amazing. Some of them can draw the most like amazing things that you'd be surprised.
The story time lessons, I think Mary was starting to get to this, but the story time lessons, those stories get read 3 times. And it can get, especially with older kids, that can get real old, real fast. And there's, you know, so much animation and play acting and whatever you can do with that. Always drawing it back, like you said, Kasie, at any age to life experience. How have you, when did you, is a great lesson extension that invites great conversation.
I think the other thing you can do if someone's speeding through the slides is choose an appropriate reward that will lend itself really nicely to almost any kind of extension. So whether it's lesson related or something different. I mean, I love my animal collection because you can incorporate that into, you know, all kinds of discussion, or, you know, even if it's, well, we've talked about props before, but using props and your reward system to talk more about it. Where does it live? What color is it? You know, have you ever seen this? Just get them talking, because our parents, they want the kids to talk. That's one of their number one goals. How can we get them to talk more? Well, ask them questions, ask them all kinds of open-ended questions about anything, you know.
I had a hard time with my level 7 today because it was all about helping people. That is so hard right now when people aren't really getting out, you know, it's really hard. So I was just like, well, you can help your mom and dad, and you can help her, you know, help your mom do things, and then you're ready to help others. But that was really, I don't know, I have a hard time with that. And when the older kids don't open up, that's...
I asked my older one the other day, do you help mom cook? Mom busted out laughing from the kitchen. I could hear her laughing. No, teacher.
A lot of the moms don't cook. Or it might be the grandmas or the grandpas that cook.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
So,
Yep. So these are questions straight from Shannon Mabry, or ideas for level 2. But if you go into the teacher portal in the library, she has, a bunch of different extension questions for different levels. So for example, level 2, simple questions. What is this? What do you see? How many of these do you see? Do you like? She also said using props for discussion. So not just props for the lesson, but maybe bringing back something from an older lesson to help test their memory or to discuss. And she also said ask related questions, not specifically on the PPTs, not specifically on the PowerPoints, but questions related to the lesson. So I thought those were all good and useful. Yeah, Amanda.
Okay, I'm going to teach you. So,
Love it.
level 2, we're trying to get our students to increase their output. I do that with many props. So I will not only just read the sentence, Mike has a bike. I will hold up Mike and he has a cake. So I will say Mike has a cake and the student will say Mike has a cake. Then I will switch and then here comes Meg. And then I won't say it. I will go like this and they already know the sentence stem. Meg has a cake is what they'll say. Then I will add in a color. So we're adding in adjectives. Meg has a purple cake. These are all things they're familiar with and they know. Then what Shannon Mabry does, I pull up a phone. Meg has and they know phone because that was our unit before. So again, it's all those props. And if you really listen, what I just did with you, my student didn't just read 2 simple sentences. I did 2 sentences and then I did Meg has a cake, Mike has a cake, Mike has a purple cake, Meg has a purple cake, Mike has a phone, Meg has a phone, Meg has a purple phone. Look at how many sentences was that?
Right.
8 sentences on one slide. So that's what parents are looking for. It's about the output for their students to receive the sentence frame, the very simple sentence frame, and then be able to repeat it without my help. And they can't do that when they're very young. They really need that support first, where you scaffold the strategy that you're teaching and then let them be free. And then we can do anything. Oh, teacher has a mouse. The teacher has water. So we can really go from there, but not when we first start with them when they're very beginning. They really need that support, but that's why props are so important because they build on the slides that we're given. So use your props and really pull in extra practice
And it's fun.
scaffold. It's
Not
fun.
just
They love
reading.
it.
Please read.
Kasie, I need to go, but thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Mary. Bye.
Bye. How do I sign out? Okay, there.
Oh, and leave meeting. Yeah. Great. So let's see. Mandy said, when I have extra time in story time, I use it to talk about books. What do they like to read? Do they read books in English? What are their favorite types of books to read?
Yeah, they love books.
Yeah, that's good. Everyone's saying, oh, I knew it, Kasie. I knew you aren't taking 30 minutes. We tried. So early finishers, basically you want to extend, right? Let's
And
see.
increase student output. That's the big thing.
Yes.
Increase student output.
I love it when they talk and do. I love when they try to find things themselves around their own environment. I don't know. I just get all like, yay, you did it.
Yeah,
I think there's so many games like on Google Slides and Stars to Apples. There's just wonderful games, but I think it's important to remember, especially with the time constraints. It's one thing like if there's a matching game, 1 and 8, 6 and 5, to invite students to identify in sentence form the object behind that number, not just to identify the number, because then it just becomes repetition.
Right. I agree. I do like the find a stars because I can have one for almost every lesson. So there's a landform find a star. There's, a shape find a star. So I like using those because they have to. The older kids have to give me a sentence with them. The younger ones.
These are fun because these have the props too.
Yeah.
Like you can make sentences with these, and I like that. So I like this because you can have it right. To me, it's more handy, and I usually have it in my box. But Cam Twist is tricky. You have to turn it on first, so it's kind of temperamental. So I didn't get to turn it on today for this, but it's kind of nice. It's got all the props in there, so it's great for traveling too.
Right.
And you can get some good conversation with that. And I love the ones, there's like feed the alligator. So then there's like today I did that one because I had a girl that did breakfast. And so the alligator could eat donuts and fruit and noodles, just so many different things. So you have a lot of choices and things to talk about. What is your favorite? What do you like the best? What color is it? And that works for the really young. That's a level 2 that I had with that one.
Good.
So
Nice. I love those rewards, the feed the animal. Those are so fun.
yeah, feed the animals. And
Yeah.
and I love the fact that they have really, like, the props are real looking. Like the pizza looks like real pizza and the hamburger and that kind of thing. But
I
you
like
could
Mary-
also draw that.
Yeah, Mary's puppet with the stomach that you can feed it. And
Yeah,
then-
that's really cute too.
Yeah. So, did anyone see anything in the chat that I missed that I should bring up?
I think I saw any questions. I saw Jason. He just said he likes to change the verb or noun to make the sentence silly, like Meg eats a bike, or I like to run in the store. So, yeah, those are fun.
Meg eats a bike.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah, those are good.
Jason said he claps. I use the finger count for mine. I used to do this until Marianne and Amanda, I think, told me that you can't always see my fingers like this.
Oh, right.
That was a while ago, so
Oh,
now
yeah.
I've moved my hands. Now they
I
see my-
clap a lot. Or, you know, like if it is a one sentence and you're trying to get them to do the one sentence, then I'll do a sing-songy thing. Like I'll do that with the trials. I see a red apple. And it seems like when I do it that way, they just join right in. But when I just say, I see a red apple, they're like,
Mhm.
But when
Yeah.
I make it a song, it makes it more interesting.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
Let's see. Love that idea. I have a kid struggling with identifying verbs, subjects. This will help him. Good. That's all I have in my notes today. I'm sure there are so many other learners that we didn't get to, but unless anyone has anything they want to specifically talk about, what do you guys think? You think of anything?
I think it might be helpful to provide a link in the chat of Shannon's conversation starters in the library. Is there? Do you have to be?
You need to be a VIPKID teacher. The teacher portal. You just go to the library,
And it's in
and
there.
I went under curriculum.
Okay,
workshop.
and the specific name. Do you know the specific name of that particular?
Oh, the specific name of that was, I think, Extensions Level 2.
Okay, thank
Something
you.
Level 2.
That's awesome.
Or Extensions, yeah. I just went to Extensions. Every time before Monday Collaboration, I go through the VIPKID library to see what kind of information I can pull straight from the source. So usually I let you guys do a lot of the talking, but I have notes that I copy off the copy. So that's all we have for you.
I was going to add, if you want to learn more, the best place to learn is to take a teacher workshop through VIPKID. There are so many of them offered. They are free. It's surprising that people don't actually use that as a resource. It is the way I learned. So when I was new and I was transitioning from brick and mortar teaching to online teaching, I took a workshop with JoJo on feedback. I took trials. I took student output. I took time management. I took grammar courses. Anything with Shannon Mabry is wonderful. I took TBR. I must have taken 10 different workshops just to really hone my skills. And so if you've never taken one or are looking for one, student output is wonderful. Feedback is important. All of these are basics that you should certainly take a look at. They're really helpful and really grow. And remember, the workshop, you don't get paid, but you know what you get paid in? Increased bookings. The better teacher you are, the more bookings you get. If you aren't learning and growing, then that's why you're having problems getting bookings. So jump into some workshops and try them out.
Oh yeah.
I still do the workshops.
I look at it like free college. I mean, you know, college you have to pay for, and that was all. You don't get paid for your time, but you're learning and it's free. I think that's pretty good.
And Amanda mentioned Justin. He's got a great thing on YouTube about the letter sounds. The letter V, instead of saying V, it's V. And he does the motorcycle. can go and watch him on some of his. He's very animated and giving his letter sounds and things like that. So the motorcycle one I use all the time because the kids are like, oh, when they want to do it. So they practice the B all the time now. But
That's great. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, Justin B. He's a great workshop leader.
His trials is really good too. If he's still
Yeah.
teaching trial workshop, his is the best workshop for trials.
Mandy said workshops are excellent. Jason said I still take the workshops. Taking the same workshop under different people is a good idea too. Yeah, JoJo says that too. Mm-hmm. All right, everyone, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you,
in the
Kasie.
chat.
Thank you,
And
Kasie.
I'll
Good to see you, Julie and
Thank
Kasie
you.
and Amanda. Kasie, hello.
Good to see you all.